Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. What do you say? So, I still can't find it. You know what's amazing? How insanely hard it is to find this Trump super PAC ad. This is unbelievable. I mean, this media, like Google, I can't find it on DuckDuckGo, but if somebody has it, you can send it to me. I can't find it, and I got to focus on doing the show, but this is unbelievable. I just want to play it. It sounded like a 30-second one. I heard, what's his name, the great one, play it on his show, and it was so good I wanted to hear the whole thing, and I was going to play it for you. But if you do have it, send it to me either via Twitter at Chris Crock Show, that's at Chris Crock Show, or on Facebook at Chris Crock Show. You can message me. I check that all the time. Okay, Sports Illustrated. Their entire staff said today they're getting laid off. 100 people. Entire staff getting laid off. Go woke, go broke. And I knew, and I figured as much that they were super woke, as all the sports journalists and sports stuff is. It's all a joke now. It's all DEI and St. George Floyd, blessed be his name. St. George Floyd worship, blessed be his name. Worship of the man who was convicted of armed robbery on a pregnant woman at gunpoint, and then died of a drug overdose in the custody of Minneapolis police. So all that turned these sports places upside down, super woke, as everything else has seemed to go that way. And I forgot some of this stuff. Did you know? Do you remember getting the Sports Illustrated issues at your house? I'm 50. I mean, I think a lot of us guys, I was not huge into sports, but I loved reading magazines. I love the smell of a magazine. I love reading them. So I two magazines I remember reading pretty regularly when I was younger was Sports Illustrated. The other one was Circus magazine. Yeah, it was about rock and roll, heavy metal. And remember some guy wrote a column named Carmine Apiece. I'm like, what kind of a name is Apiece? Carmine Apiece. Some guitar guy. I'm like, Apiche? Oh, is he? You know who he is? Producer Garrett? Okay. He was a drummer in the 70s. That's why. So Apiche? Yeah. Dang, you're deep, bro. You are deep, bro. All right. That's fun. I'm sure he's right. I was like, a piece? I'm sure. No, you're right. That sounds right. 'Cause I'm like, who the hell is this guy? What kind of a name is this? Okay. Anyway, I remember reading about Jack Nicklaus. I could care less about golf. I fell asleep to golf when it was on TV. I loved falling asleep. I had a TV in my room on a little TV cart, man, with my little Atari 7800 that I won with Joust. And I would get Sports Illustrated sent to my house, and I would read it up, man. And I even read about Jack Nicklaus. I guess I was bound to be a talk show host, reading stuff to gain more, news and information, etc. And the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, who couldn't remember that when we were young? If you got it or watched it or saw it, I mean, it was huge. And it wasn't pornography, but it was salacious, swimsuits and poses and such of beautiful women and voluptuous women. And then they've gone to, look at them now. They had a trans guy on who looks just like a hot woman. Now look, the picture that is on my Twitter feed, I didn't know about this, nor did I seek it up. I saw it. And, but there is somebody who was super hot looking, but the picture cuts off the chest. It looks like a beautiful, typical Sports Illustrated model cover, but it was a guy. Who, unbeknownst to me, he was a guy. Now I'm looking at the 2022 swimsuit issue cover, and it's a woman who's gorgeous, but she is overweight by about 70 pounds. On the front cover of Sports Illustrated, 70 pounds overweight. And then there's another person, a woman who is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, at least one of the covers, and this woman looks like she's about 80 or 90 pounds overweight. I mean, she's beautiful, but she has about 80, 90 pounds on her. And I'm not here to attack people for that. Oh, and here's a woman who looks like a train wreck. And she's up there for a diversity thing, I believe. It's incredible. I tweeted this out earlier around, 6 hours ago. You can see it. So one of the stories, this story is from Breitbart. This is insane. This woman's probably 60 pounds overweight, has no business being a model, and says right here, a model walks the run. And I'm just saying, as far as the salacious Sports Illustrated that we grew up on, right? And what I'm saying is when you change your model to going woke, you're broke. You're done. Nobody wants to read this crap. Here's one that in 2018 Sports Illustrated swimsuit show in Miami during Miami Swim Week at the W Hotel. I mean, dude, she is a wreck. And I mean, if you're fully clothed modeling, like, clothes for, whatever, some department store, more power to you. But if you're going to be in a swimsuit like that and you're not selling swimsuits for, women who have weight, which is a lot of people our age, you know what I mean? I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, don't put that crap on the cover of a freaking magazine or on a runway if you're Sports Illustrated. You've destroyed your product. And that is, to me, emblematic of their entire wokeness of what they've done with that magazine. And I believe that's why they collapsed. And so Sports Illustrated Union... This is funny, too. The Sports Illustrated Union is complaining. I love they have a union. And they are calling on their owners to ensure the continued publication of SI. In a statement following the announcement, they're all getting the X. Michael Jordan was the outlet's most pictured cover athlete, 50 times appearing on the magazine. Not anymore. There's a transgender guy in a women's bathing suit looking all hot until you figure out what's going on down there. And there's obese women on the cover of the swimsuit issue, too. And so you got guys in bathing suits looking like women. You got obese women, and they're saying, what's wrong? Why aren't you buying us? On top of this, there was a big thing that happened. I think I heard about this, but AI, they got busted with articles being written by AI. AI generated content that included bylines and photos of fake authors. What a disgrace. So they've destroyed themselves. Go woke, go broke. So my question for you on this is, why do you think, I should say, Sports Illustrated magazine just laid off their entire staff? Why do you think SI just laid off their entire staff? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Why do you think, after all these years being such an iconic magazine, has SI just laid off its entire staff? I don't really read or follow magazines. Well, Rolling Stone magazine, they've become a insane leftist thing. They were leftist 20 years ago, but I still tolerated it because they wrote good stuff. Now it's all about that crap. There's probably, from what little I've seen of it over the past couple of years, there's one article that's good, that's pretty much normal on a rock musician that you or I care about, and the rest of them are all super stupid, super leftist, stuff like that. So, but I think about other publications like the Wall Street Journal. They're doing swimmingly. They're doing fantastic. I subscribe to them. They're a little too milquetoast Republican for me, but they do a great job. So I think good publications that have a purpose and serve a need will still survive. But you go woke, you go broke. I think the same thing has happened to ESPN. So why do you think Sports Illustrated Magazine just laid off their entire staff. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I've got a lot more details on this, including what some of the covers used to be, jogging our memory, and what's going on there now. Today, more info on that, more intel. The pictures are horrendous that I had not seen over the past several years. It's just atrocious, abysmal. What they're putting up there for their swimsuit issues tells me everything. What are you doing? I want to vomit. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. All right, coming up next, your call. We got a couple lines open for you at 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. 3 lines open. We'll take your call next. I'll give you more details on this story. Coming up next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM 93.3. All right, SI is dead. They just laid off 100 writers. They laid everybody off. And I think it's a case of go woke, go broke. When you see transgender men in women's bathing suits on the front cover of Swimsuit Edition, when you see, morbidly obese women in bathing suits on the cover and featured, and runway people that look like they are 5 years, 10 years older than I am, that have no business being in a model's outfit, strutting the runway for their swimsuit model thing. I mean, it's embarrassing. If you're in a swimsuit for a grandma or a woman who's got a lot of weight on her, and walking down a thing as a regular thing to model a swimsuit, that's fine to me. I don't put that crap in Sports Illustrated. And that's what they've done. It's sickening. It's ridiculous. I think that's what happened. Why do you think Sports Illustrated Magazine just laid off its entire staff? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Let's go to Mike in McKinney. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Mike.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Welcome.
I guess, you're asking the exact question I ask every time I hear another news story about this. The idea of go woke, go broke is now becoming more than just a phrase. It is a proven model. And why any company abandons a fiduciary model that's been successful for years and decades and then just throws all that away, I'm speechless. Other than some sort of virtue signaling, I cannot imagine why in the world a company would do that.
Yeah, I mean, how could they think that you or I... Did you get Sports Illustrated when you were younger and back in the day?
Oh, yeah. It was delivered to the house for a while, and then when it wasn't, it was a matter of just seeing it at the grocery store and all the other places. They would have it all over the place.
Yeah, so, what would any man... Sports is about like 90% men-dominated, wouldn't you say?
Right, and then you're placating to maybe 10% of the population who cares about all the
5%, and they don't they're not into sports.
Exactly.
Like, do you think what's her name, Megan Rapinoe, who's super woke, lesbian, fake feminist, hater of men and a hater of conservatives and Christians? Do you think she reads Sports Illustrated? You think she looks at these ads or something like that? Looks at these swimsuit issues? Nobody does.
No.
This is just like during Black History Month and Gay Pride Month when they put those virtue signal things on YouTube, not YouTube, but on Amazon, Netflix, and HBO and stuff like that. That's like, here's your gay movies. Nobody watches that crap.
So much of the sports world is caving to these things. You see it on the back of tennis shoes. You see it on billboards. You see it on helmets. You see it on everything that you watch now, as far as the different messages they want to send to try and, I guess, maybe attract those people to the sports world. I just am clueless when you have an established set of clientele who are keeping your business afloat, and then you say, we're going to force you now to be willing to be open to these new things that we're going to introduce you to, even though it has no interest to you whatsoever. And I don't know where they're getting their advice, but it makes no sense to me.
Totally agree, brother. Appreciate your call.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Why do you think Sports Illustrated Magazine just laid off its entire staff? Here's some more. Long considered a standard of excellence in sports journalism, it employed legendary sports writers None of those names mean anything to me, even though I did subscribe and read it back in the day. Sports Illustrated cover was for decades the number one star-making vehicle in sports, says an ESPN guy. It was Johnny Carson was the comedian, SNL for a band. Sports is worse off without these things. That things got this bad this quickly is unfathomable and totally avoidable. That's exactly right. This is unfathomable and it's totally avoidable. You make a killer product that people want to be a part of and jump in on, they'll pay for it, or they'll at least watch it, read it, whatever. And then here's one comment from one of the folks that was put on the New York Post's coverage of this from Twitter. If you are older, you knew exactly what day Sports Illustrated showed up in the mailbox. That's exactly right. You found this last week, and it took me back in a time when the team was great, where they were called something different, and your team made the cover, and it was the greatest thing ever. Yeah, not anymore. So, no, let me tell you this. When they put this crap together, they know nobody wants to see this. Some executive that is in charge of a company that wants to use this thing to virtue signal does this, and they destroy the product. Just like the ESG crap that they shoved in for the funds. You know, the 401k, retirement funds and all that kind of stuff. They make it all ESG. That stuff has gone to the wayside. Those are collapsing. And they're being ruined. They're being pushed to the side because nobody wants them. They're a horrible product. They lose our money. And so, I mean, it's just everything the left with this whole woke stuff goes to crap. Okay, up next. This is pretty amazing. Are you suffering? Are you literally suffering as far as the in your life, the economy, your job, your healthcare, your pay, your ability to save and live abundantly or at least decently? You got to hear about this, how many Americans literally say they are suffering, and it's such a higher rate. So I'll be asking you, do you think you're suffering right now as far as the economy, your finances, cost of living, price of groceries, gas, the amount of money you're making versus the amount of money it costs to maintain your lifestyle from a year or two or three ago? Do you think you're suffering right now? And do you really think that Americans are suffering now at some of the highest levels? A new survey indicates that. And these are some bad levels, too. So that's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show. Plus, Alec Baldwin, a surprise announcement of an indictment. That's fascinating. We'll talk about that, about what kind of punishment you'd like to see for him if he's convicted, and if he should get more time about appearing to lie about pulling the trigger. So we'll get to all that coming up next on the Chris Crock Show. Lines wide open for you as well, too, at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on 93 on FM at 93.3. I found the Nikki Haley ad thanks to Brian Adams, a listener who tweeted out to me. Thank you, my friend. Huge hat tip to you. Thank you for... I knew if I mentioned it, y'all would grab it for me. Thank you so much. Let's go to John and Ennis, who wanted to call in first at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Go woke, go broke about Sports Illustrated firing its entire staff. John and Ennis, you're on News Talk 820. WBAP at 93. Thank you. Good. And on now on FM at 93.3. Why do you think Sports Illustrated magazine just laid off their entire staff?
It's all about the transformation of America and the demasculization of America.
That is exactly right. I think you're exactly right. China loves it. Russia loves it. Our enemies all love it. Yes, cut off your, thwack off your junk if you're a man, if you're a woman, sew one on there and take drugs to change your sex and put a dress on if you're a guy. And Palestine is, what we call Hamas is great. The Jews are bad. America's bad. The Jews in America are white supremacist oppressors. And men in swimming suits is great, looking like girls.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, I don't believe a successful past is willing to gamble away what if future. Doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, nobody wants to buy this crap. I think that's exactly why they're dead. Sports Illustrated, go broke. Thanks for your call, John, tonight for Menace.
All right, have a good night.
You too, brother. I love getting your calls on Friday nights. We kick back. We have a little fun. What do you say? I've been trying to get this Trump attack ad on Haley that was really awesome. I guess we'll play it first before we go to the next one on America's suffering at a rate rarely reached. I'll get that in a sec. But let's play this quick ad on Nikki Haley. This is something else. Listen to it. It's on my Twitter feed now, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, CHRASKROK. Listen to this.
I would not run if President Trump ran. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president. I will not now, not ever, support raising the gas tax. Let's increase the gas tax by 10 cents over the next 3 years. A huge issue that I'll deal with as soon as I get there is social media. They need to verify every single person on their outlet and I want it by name. I never said government should go and require anyone's name. I think China's been a really great friend of ours. Yes, I view China as an enemy. That was not what I intended to say. I do not think we need to pull money from the UN. The UN, the only thing is we would defund the UN as much as possible.
When a 12-year-old child in this country, assigned female at birth, says, actually, I feel more comfortable living as a boy, what should the law allow the response to be?
Well, I think the law should stay out of it, and I think parents should handle it. I think there should be federal involvement. You should not have any gender-altering anything done to a child before the age of 18.
This woman should not be dog catcher anymore. This woman is the mother. She's the mother of lies. She sits on the throne of lies. She makes lies for breakfast. She makes lies when she's sleeping. She makes lies when she's awake. This woman is a complete and total fraud. I had no idea she was this bad. This is insane. Now I know why Tucker has been railing against her for so long, and he's so right. This woman is horrific. Like, George Bush would be better than this. You know what I'm saying? By the way, George Bush was incredible on 9/11, and he was there God put him there for that moment, and he was wonderful. But there's a lot of things I didn't like about, pro-legal and stuff like that. But, I mean, George Bush is stunningly better as far as the issues than this woman. This woman's, doesn't even say anything. She says whatever you want, and the next day she changes it. That's unbelievable. That's breathtaking, that record right there. See it on Twitter, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. Share away. Dang, that's incredible, isn't it? It's over. The race is over. It's over. Ron DeSantis said something nice about Trump earlier today because he's about to walk away. He's going to place... Iowa was it, second place. Remember when Nikki Haley after Iowa said, this makes it obvious, it's a two-person race. What are you, drunk? Are you stepping down? Are you suspending your campaign? If it's a two-person race, you're three. So that means it's Haley, it's Trump and DeSantis. So third was good for her in Iowa. She's going to get a distant second. As of right now, the poll today I saw New Hampshire 17 behind, and then she's trounced in her home state of South Carolina. Both senators endorse Trump. The governor endorses Trump. Nobody likes this woman that I'm aware of that runs the state there. That's insane, guys. That's wild. Boy, does she look good, but she's bad. Anyway, and I can never undo the way I look at her face now that one of our listeners, Texan by birth that I follow on Twitter, you can see he tweeted me about an hour or so ago. Plus she has witch face. Now I see it. The chin comes out like that. Like, I'll get you, my pretty. Throw water on her. I'm melting. Okay. Americans are suffering at a level that has rarely been seen. This is a Gallup poll. This isn't some hoity-toity, conservative or fly-by-night poll. The Gallup National Health and Well-Being Index. Americans estimated to be suffering. It's 4.3%. The percentage of Americans suffering, quote unquote, was 4.3% in the fourth quarter of 2023. It was the fifth time in 6 quarters since the second quarter of 2022 that number of Americans evaluated their lives poorly topped 4%, a level that has rarely been reached. Let me repeat this from the news story. It's from Newsweek. And Gallup did the research. This is so the numbers are so high on American suffering. Americans who evaluated their lives poorly, top 4%, a level that has only rarely been reached since 2008. These are the Great Recession levels. We have numbers of dissatisfaction that are the same as when we had the housing collapse, when Bush was in his last year and former President Hussein Obama was taking over for that first year and everything collapsed. I lost my job right at that time within a week or two before Hussein Obama took over the office from Bush. Herman Cain took my job, which I brag about because the guy was a presidential candidate. Remember him? 999, the former CEO, Godfather's Pizza. Yeah, he was a weekend host in Atlanta, and he took my slot from me. That's okay though. That's a great person to brag about having and may his soul rest in peace, y'all. But I mean, dude, God bless me because we were all out of work. If you lost your job, it was hard to get a job. It's the longest time I've ever been out of work. I did fill-ins, but 8 months, which is very difficult to go through as a man, but for anybody. Anyway, because everybody was laying everybody off, and I survived 2 bone cuts after I got hired, which is unbelievable too. Oof. So, anyway, the average rates in both 2022 and 2023 exceeded the levels of suffering measured during the Great Recession. So it actually is worse. 2022 and 2023, Gallup says the levels of suffering for Americans is worse now than in the Great Recession, 2008 Great Recession. This is stunning, isn't it? I'll give you some more details on this, including what Republicans and independents say on suffering versus Democrats. But I want to ask you something about this. Do you think you're suffering right now? Do you think you're suffering right now, as this Gallup poll indicates? Actually higher than when the Great Recession happened in 2008. So do you think you're suffering right now? And do you really think Americans are suffering now at some of the highest levels? Worse than the Great Recession? Tell me why. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. As I said, I have more details on this story, and I also have what the Republicans and independents say about their level of suffering versus the Democrats. That's next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and 93.3, now on FM. Hey, Chris Crock program, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. So, this is pretty interesting. We have a Gallup poll that just came in today. Well, at least the report just came in about this on Newsweek today. Came out, I should say. Americans are suffering at a level that we haven't seen since 2008. In fact, it's worse. Now, the level doesn't sound high. 4.3% towards the end of 2023 say they're suffering. People evaluating their lives as poorly, top 4%, a level that has rarely been reached since 2008. So Gallup categorizes Americans as thriving, struggling, or suffering on how they rate their current and future lives on a ladder scale from 0 to 10. A 7 or higher is obviously good. 8 years or higher are classified as thriving. All right, so 8 or higher is thriving. 7 is really good too, but 4 is suffering. So that's what it is, 4.3. Okay, so that makes more sense. So really, because 4.3 sounds like 4.3%, the level was 4.3%. I see. So in other words, from a 1 to 10 scale, Americans are at 4.3% as far as how good they're doing, whether they're thriving or suffering. So that's why that's what this is. It was really a little bit misleading at first. So now I fully understand. So let me repeat this from the beginning real fast. Because I read this earlier, I highlighted it, and I thought it was 4.3% of the people. But I'm like, no, it's not. It's 4.3 on a 10 scale. So that's what folks are saying their level of satisfaction and what their future lives will be in 5 years right now versus 5 years and then 8 years out. And it's really bad. It's 4.3 out of on a 10 scale. 10 being the best. So this is bad. Yeah, this is actually worse than 2008 crash. So and then Republicans and Independents, they've declined since the first half of 2021, 9 percentage points lower by Republicans, 2.6 on Independents. But Democrats are pretty steady. They're like, what do you mean? Everything's great. Anyway, they're not worried about their money and their pocketbook and their jobs and everything. They're more worried about Orange Man, I guess. So anyway, do you think you're suffering right now? And do you really think Americans are suffering now at some of the highest levels, as this Gallup poll reveals? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I do think I'm suffering, and I'm not suffering a lot. I'm blessed because the income level that we're at with my family of four, for myself and my wife's contributions as well, I cannot complain. I should not complain. If I do, you should shame me. I'm nowhere near ever in a position, nor have I been. And I have to be reminded of that when I complain about things too, you know. But I do feel I'm suffering because I literally am spending $1,000 to $2,000 a month to exist, more than I used to. I mean, Americans, remember CBS News said about 11,000 something. It was almost exactly $1,000 a month for the average family of four in America. Now, compared for the same thing, I think it was from a year before. But then you have the 9.1% inflation rate that was a year or two ago. And then Joe Biden lies and says it's great now. Look at how low it is. We've lowered it. No. It's still high. It's still... It went up. It never went down. It's just the rate of it going higher has slowed down, but it never went backwards. It just, instead of skyrocketing this year, it slowed down, but it kept going up. So this idea that we're going back to normal is a fat freaking lie. We will never get the groceries prices that we used to get. I had a woman who called in and she text, what do you call it, Twitter messaged me or whatever, and she said, when will the grocery prices go back? Do you think they will? No. You have no idea how much I don't want to say that because I'm suffering with you. We will never go back. This son of a bleep and what he's done to us for 3 years has literally driven us to have to really push to get extra work for my wife. Instead of doing her business, she might have to do some extra because it ain't the same. You know, so that's the difference between me breaking even, which never happened before, and being able to bankroll again like we used to. So, I mean, it's done this to all of us, or much worse, honestly, probably the average. So, I mean, I'm not complaining, but I'm saying this, yes, I'm suffering. I'm suffering economically, and I don't know if there's other ways, but that's probably the one I'm suffering. How about you? Do you think you're suffering, as this Gallup poll indicates, and do you really think Americans are suffering now at some of the highest levels? even higher than when we had the Great Recession. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. And I think the obvious is the answer is an obvious yes. You look at the over-leveraged Americans with their credit card. You look at the over-leveraged Americans buying cars that they can't afford. They can't. Here's one that came out today too. Just to add to the fire, I saw this from the Wall Street Journal, so I printed out to mention in this article, in this whole thing about suffering. Home sales were the lowest in almost 30 years last year. Did you hear this? Home sales were the lowest in almost 30 years in 2023. Home sales last year dropped to the lowest levels in nearly 3 decades after the elevated mortgage level rates and lack of homes for sale shut out buyers. Of course, their lack of homes for sale because it's called the golden cuffs. You're not going to, you got handcuffs on you. You're not going to sell your house because you got your interest rate at 2.5% or 3%. So you're not going to move into a house that's going to cost $100,000 more or $50,000 more, and then in addition to that, having to pay 8% on an interest rate or 6% on an interest rate, more than double. So then your payment will go up by what, $300-400 a month for the same house, $500 a month. I remember I mentioned this to you too, like mortgages. The average mortgage before Joe Biden took office, or the day Joe Biden took office, I think was somewhere around $1,500 or $1,400 or something. I don't know what. And then it went up to, I can't remember exactly, but it went up to like $2,600 or something like that. It doubled. It doubled almost. It went up like $1,000 a month for the average mortgage in America from the day he started to now. He's destroyed us. And what makes people feel they're suffering even more is this guy doesn't get us, and he pretends everything's great. He tells us everything's great. He lies to us. He gaslights us. So anyway, that inflames it, obviously, worse. Okay, now, coming up next, Alec Baldwin indicted. We're going to talk about what kind of a punishment you would like to see for Alec Baldwin if he's convicted of involuntary manslaughter. That's what a grand jury indicted him on today in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And also, should he get more time for lying about pulling the trigger? Which he, according to the FBI and according to one of the country's best forensics, but firearms advocate, not advocate, but expert. So they both said he pulled the trigger. All right, so we'll get to that coming up next. Our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Also, does he really have does the DA actually have a case as well? Even though they can charge, does that mean they have a case? All that's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820, WBAP.